Obviously, 2022 ended on a really sour note for the crypto industry as a whole. I mean, anyone who's not even in the weeds of crypto has seen headlines of FTX and their fallout, as well as Sam Bankman-Fried. So, how badly did the FTX scandal impact the crypto industry?
It was pretty devastating. I mean, for one, for folks that hadn't heard of crypto, uh, obviously they've heard of it now. I mean, just look at the segments that were done even on late night comedy shows that never touch crypto, like the Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel's of the world, and Sam Bankman-Fried's picture has been plastered all over the world too. I
He's
mean, one
almost
of
a
the
household
reasons,
name at this point.
yeah, he is, or at least SBF, or the curly haired guy that looks like computer help that managed to orchestrate one of the biggest financial collapses in history. And I remember when they were going over his bail arrangement. I mean, one of the reasons why he wasn't a flight risk was because he essentially would be recognized anywhere in the world at this point. I mean, it became that level of notoriety, and it really, at least in the short term, it obviously did a disservice because one of the big focuses of Sam Bankman-Fried, especially in 2022, was going to DC, spending time hobnobbing with senators and members of the House of Representatives and SEC commissioners and CFTC commissioners and all types of regulators in order to try to I guess create ostensibly friendly regulation to crypto. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not he was trying to create self-serving regulation to help FTX more than some of the other competitors, and perhaps do a disservice to decentralized finance and some of the more open and private use cases for crypto. But that could be a debate for another day. But all of that work has not only been thrown out, but it's put egg on the face of some of the lawmakers that were publicly associated with him, and certainly it begs the question, like, what is the relationship between the industry and Congress, and what is an appropriate relationship between the industry and lawmakers and regulators in order to kind of help steer this industry through. It's important to have input from industry because they know it better than members of Congress do. Just for nothing else, they can focus on it 100% of the time. Lawmakers have a lot of other concerns beyond just regulating crypto. And that's kind of forced everyone to take a step back and look. And at some point, I had a sense that we're making progress on getting some helpful regulation. And with everything that's happened and the millions of investors that have been hurt in the U.S. and around the world from all this, they're certainly going to take a much more stricter look than perhaps they would have before, in order to sort of stay on the side of caution when it comes from a risk reward calculus.
And where are we in terms of regulations? Obviously, this sent shockwaves, around the world and really perked up the ears of lawmakers. In 2023, are we going to see any regulations take place?
I mean, I certainly hope so, because there's important questions that need to be answered. I mean, chief among them is, how would you categorize a digital asset? Is it a security? In which case, it would fall under the purview of the SEC and Chair Gary Gensler. And also, if that's the case, then that would create some really important questions for all the exchanges in the U.S. that sell different types of digital assets and have not registered as securities trading facilities with the SEC. If assets are commodities, then at least like their spot markets and derivative markets would fall under the remit of the Commodity and Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, and really, like, that's one big line in the road of delineation that has to be made, because, like, I've spoken with commissioners of both of those regulators, and they say the right things and they want to work together, but nobody knows. And just the nature of competitiveness, I mean, this is kind of like a trophy regulatory opportunity, and both want to have primacy over it, either because they genuinely think that it belongs to them, and I think they both genuinely do think that largely crypto belongs to them, but also because of just the attention that it's getting. And then there's even other more important questions, like a stable coin. It sounds like it should not be a security, because a stable coin, by its very definition, should not change in value, and the definition of a security starts with it being an investment contract. But there are some nuances behind the scenes of that make it less clear whether or not Congress thinks that a stablecoin is a security, or perhaps certain stablecoins are securities and certain are not. And there are a bunch of different bills competing, going through different stages of drafting within Congress called the Responsible Financial Innovation Act, which I know has been getting a lot of bipartisan support there. And I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful that we are going to see legislation, because that can also help just settle these turf wars between the regulators. I mean, they have to abide by whatever constraints or contours they are given to from Congress, and I think at this point we do need a congressional solution. Of course, we also live in the real world, and we're in a very harshly divided Congress, where with a Republican majority of, I believe, 4 seats, and it's hard to see. I mean, right now they're focused on things like the debt ceiling, and it's hard to see much of any legislation really passing. But I do hope that bills like the Responsible Financial Innovation Act, which does have a degree of bipartisan support, will be able to see its way through.